Blessings, everybody. Blessings. If this is your first time here, my name is Patricia Lasky. Welcome. And thank you guys so much for joining me. And thank you for supporting our ministry. So today I have a word for somebody. It is launch out into the deep. Last week I had decided not to do anything, not to work on anything, and not to come on YouTube, but I chose to do the beginning of Passover by just pressing into the Lord. I felt the Spirit of the Lord calling me to just press in, and so I took the whole week and just spent all my time with the Lord. And as I pressed in, He told me to read Luke 5. And as I began to meditate on that word, the Lord told me that He had been speaking to many people to launch out into the deep, but that many of you have been waiting for conditions to be right and waiting for everything to line up before you go out. But that is not faith. Faith is moving when God tells you to move, regardless of conditions or circumstances, or regardless of what it looks like. So let's look at Luke 5, 1 through 7. And it came to pass that as the people pressed upon him to hear the word of God, he stood by the lake of Gennesaret and saw two ships standing by the lake, but the fishermen were gone out of them and were washing their nets. And he entered into one of the ships, which was Simon's, and prayed him that he would thrust out a little from the land. And he sat down and taught the people out of the ship. Now when he had left speaking, he said unto Simon, Launch out into the deep and let down your nets for a draught. And Simon answering said unto him, Master, we have toiled all night and have taken nothing. Nevertheless, at thy word I will let down the net. And when they had done this, they enclosed a great multitude of fishes, and their net broke. And they beckoned unto their partners, which were in the other ship, that they should come and help them. And they came and filled both the ships, so that they began to sink. The deep is a place that is outside of your comfort zone. It's going into a place that is bigger than you, and it is going further into your calling. The water represents the calling, and the boat represents faith. When God is calling you into the deep, He is calling you into commitment. Your calling is a commitment, and He's calling you into that place at this time. But as I said, many of you are staying at the shoreline, even though He is beckoning you to move out, to go further out. You're staying in the place of comfort. You're staying where you feel comfortable. You're just kind of splashing around the water, kicking with your feet and looking at how beautiful it is. You're just observing. You're always observing, always looking at how beautiful the water is. This is what God's called me to do. It's so amazing. It's so beautiful, but never actually going in. And so right now, there should be no alternative for you. You should be all in, and it should be all or nothing. What's interesting also about launching out into the deep is that, fishermen would usually fish at night, but the Lord told Peter to launch out in the day. And so I'm sure that Peter was an experienced fisherman. I'm sure that he had been fishing for many years, and so he knew the right times to go out. But the Lord told him to do the opposite of that and launch out in the day. And so Peter said, Lord, I've been toiling all night. We caught nothing, but nevertheless. Some of you need a nevertheless. Nevertheless, Lord, at thy word, I will let down the net. And some of you need a nevertheless, because right now you're just splashing around and always observing. Lord, you've called me to go and run this corporation. I'm not an educated woman, or I'm not an educated man, but nevertheless. Lord, you told me to, open this website and have all these things for sale, but I can't see the finances. But nevertheless, Lord, there's no one here to support me. I have no one to help me. But nevertheless, we need to have a nevertheless. When God says move, that's when we need to move, regardless of how we think. Proverbs 3:5 says, trust in the Lord with all thine heart and lean not unto thine own understanding. And right now, many of you have too much of your own understanding, too much of your own opinion. You're looking at what God has told you to do versus how you think things should go. It's by faith. So if God is telling you to go out, to launch out into the deep, launch out with your business, launch out with your ministry, that's what you should be focusing on doing, not focusing on what your situation looks like. And when Peter had done that, when Peter said, okay, nevertheless, Lord, at thy word I will let down the net, a great blessing came unto him, because that was his key. That was the key to the blessing coming into his life, was doing what God said when he said to do it, not by his experience. Not because he was an experienced fisherman did he turn to the Lord and say, well, I'm experienced and I know that this is not the right time to do this, so I'm not doing it. Plus, I'm tired. He took God at his word, and that was the key for him getting his breakthrough. And it was the magnitude of the blessing was great. It was 100-fold blessing, so much so that he had to call in for help. So the Lord is saying to you today to launch out into the deep, launch out into a place that is unfamiliar to you, because he has spoken to you and told you to do it. Not by your strength, not by your power, but by his spirit. When he speaks to you, that is the time to move, not a time of your choosing or because you think that it's right, but when he says to do so. And that is my word for you all today. Until next time, God bless you all. We love you all. Talk to you soon.